The famous words of Martin Luther King Jr. make complete meaning today as we observe the World Day of Social Justice to promote equal economic, educational, and workplace opportunities, eliminate discrimination and all kinds of social injustices. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere.
Amoha, but what is social injustice?
Bhavishya, not long ago, even I didn't know what it actually meant until I read all about it. Let me explain it with an example. Have you ever felt if your taste in music or films is different? If your accent marks you out? If you don't play the same sport that many of your classmates like? Or if you dress differently, the chances are that you will not be considered to be in by your peers.
Oh, I feel that all the time, so much so that it makes me so conscious and worried about my behavior that I end up feeling and thinking that how I act is not quite right or acceptable to others.
Yes, Bhavishya, I understand what you mean. It must be so frustrating for you. Now, imagine the same scenario for a certain group of people or communities who may experience being excluded. This may be because they speak different languages, follow different customs, belong to different religious groups, or considered to be low social status or viewed as less human than others.
I can totally understand that, Amoha. I think you mean that people feel marginalized for their differences, and this sense of exclusion leads to communities not having access to resources and opportunities and in their inability to assert their rights. So, this should certainly come to an end. But how?
Indeed, the 20th of February has been observed as the World Day of Social Justice since 2009. An underlying principle for peaceful and prosperous coexistence within and among nations is upheld by the promotion of gender equality, development of human dignity, and guaranteeing the rights of indigenous and migrant people. The commitment in collective development is apparent in the adoption of the Declaration on Social Justice for a Fair Globalization by the International Labour Organization. It wants to eliminate the barriers that people face because of gender, age, race, ethnicity, religion, culture, or disability, and to encourage people to look at how social justice affects the poverty eradication. This declaration is focused upon guaranteeing fair and just outcomes for everyone through social protection, justice, employment, fundamental principles, social dialogues, and just rights at the workplace.
The outbreak of the 2019 novel coronavirus and the disease caused by COVID-19 has disrupted life around the world. COVID-19 has further highlighted imbalances to power and resource distributions relative to technology and knowledge divides, supply chain disruptions, and demographic and rural-urban disparities in healthcare access and capacities and overall resources. The COVID-19 crisis, in addition, has brought a stressor for justice issue.
Yes, you are right. The COVID has amplified the global education crisis as well. Schools and families the world over are grappling with the challenge of educating children in a pandemic. Even in the wealthiest nations, the digital divide has widened inequality gaps, leaving many poor children behind. According to the National Sample Survey 2017 to 2018, in India, only 4.4 rural households have a computer against 23.4% in urban areas, with just 14.9% of rural households having the access to the internet against 42% in urban areas. Similarly, only 9.9% of people in the rural areas can operate the computer and 13% people can use the internet against 32.4% in urban areas.
Incorporating social justice as one of the governing rules or ethics of a society which would benefit people in many ways. When social justice integrates as one of the governing rules of a society, it sponsors balance. It promotes oneness and unity, guarantees basic dignity and equality, ensures the availability of adequate healthcare and basic amenities. Social justice cannot be incorporated in a society by a single organization or individual. It requires the collective effort of both the government and the citizens.
Social justice will thrive in a society where people relate to each other, share their ideas, engage in discussions, and most of all, embrace diversity. Thank you. This is Amoha
And Bhavishya of Class 7 of the NGP school.
With this presentation, we intend to spread the awareness on the evils of injustice
And hope for a world that is more just and equal.